segment of the Meet the Candidates session. During this segment, you will meet 5 individuals who are candidates for the Daughtah Island Club. The charge that was given to our committee is as follows. 3 golf members are retiring from the current board and are to be replaced by 3 persons from the golf and full golf membership. DIC bylaws state that 5 golf and full golf candidates are to be presented to the membership for the vacated positions. You will find that there are questions which might have been asked to the DIOA candidates as being redundant here. Questions that are germane to both boards will be asked to both. Again, the list of questions was given to the candidates to allow a more thoughtful response. The candidates were then asked to choose 3 which they wanted to be asked and 3 that they felt to be least important. During the question and answer period, we will cover as many of those questions as time will allow. There will be no questions from the floor, but we will allow time for you to speak to the individuals at the end. To allow all candidates the advantage of first response, we will do the same thing, and I will have a line follower as we go along. We have drew cards for both the speeches and the questioning. So at this time, we will have the first responder will be Bill Eggers.
My fellow Americans. Okay, before we get started, I know you've been up a little bit, and I want to move you around a little bit to get the blood flowing, because some of the things I may say here may get your blood up, so we need to get your blood moving. So it's going to be really, really easy. The first thing I want you to do is slide across your chairs about 3 inches to the left. Okay, now back to the center. Now slide across your chairs about 3 inches to the right. Now back to center. Now look at that. I've been up here for 30 seconds and I've already dusted every chair in this room. Just think what I can do for you on the board in 3 years. Okay, but seriously. As Celeste said, I'm Bill Eggers. Marcia and I have lived on Daughtah for about 5 years now, 3 years permanently. And I'm here to tell you I love it. When I announced to my family and friends that I was planning to run for the DIC board, their first reaction was stunned silence. Followed closely thereafter by the very supportive exclamation, "What, are you crazy?" But honestly, they were all very supportive. Their first questions were, why would I want to take the time out of my busy social and recreational schedule to dedicate myself to several years of serving my community? And the answer was fairly simple. As I said, I love living on Daughtah. And I want to do my part to help lead Daughtah to ensure that we're a viable community, both socially and financially into the future. And when I say community, I mean the totality of the island, because I believe that the Daughtah Island Club is an integral and non-separable part of our community. I think that Daughtah is an island in transition. I believe there are 3 major issues that are facing us as a community. First, ensuring the financial viability of the club. Second, maintaining our presence as a community of choice through an aggressive and effective marketing program. And third, improving the communication between the boards of directors, the club management, and Daughtah residents so there's a perception of openness in all that we say and do. I believe we have a roadmap that addresses these issues in our strategic plan. The plan serves as a basis for the transformation of the island, to make us more effective and efficient in serving the needs of all members and owners. The board has got to be focused on reinventing this island so that we continue to market ourselves as a community of choice to all, including the local community. Now, for those who looked in your member boxes in the last week or so, you may have seen one of these. And basically what that is a flyer that I distributed that laid out what I call the planks in my platform. And now I'd like to take a minute to talk about them. First, I believe that in order for the club to remain financially viable community, we must improve the efficiency and effectiveness of club operations through business track process improvement. This means not only figuring out the things that we should be doing to support our strategic direction and making them more efficient, but also eliminating activities and tasks that do not support our plan. Second, the board and club management have to do everything they can to enhance communication and consensus building between the club, the membership, and the community. We need a strategic communications plan that will help address this need. And I know the Joint Communications Committee is working on one of those right now. Third, we must begin implementing our strategic plan so that we can transform the club into an operation that's financially sufficient, but still meets the needs of the membership while minimizing the financial and social impact on the members. Fourth, I believe that we need to take a lead from many successful corporations who let their senior management run the operations, but also hold them accountable to performance standards on a pay-for-performance compensation system. Studies have shown that workers whose pay is tied in some way to their performance are more productive and efficient. We have to go beyond simple bonus earnings plan to a model that truly ties salary and bonuses to performance. Fifth, and I know this is a tough one, I believe that DAWTA is at a point where we no longer need a separate DIOA and DIC board of directors. I think it's time to look at the feasibility of combining both boards. We have the one island model in place now, and that makes having two boards redundant. We are a single community. Will it be easy? Probably not, but it's something that we need to take a look at. Sixth, and this is sort of tied to the communications plan, we have to increase the transparency of club business and financial operations to the membership. I want to be clear that I'm not saying the board needs to be doing the daily operations of the club. That's what Ted gets paid the big bucks for. I want to be part of Dawta Island transformation, working for you whether you're a golf, island social, or country club member. I started as a social member, I upgraded to sport, then to island social, and finally to full golf. I don't believe there is, as a very vocal minority will insist, a rift between golf and non-golf members of the club. Although we do need be better about communicating. I want to serve to ensure that the club board of directions is looking at solutions that are consensus building and satisfying of all the membership so that we can remain an island of friends, and an attractive place to live, play, and yes, even work. So in closing, I'd like to quote Will Rogers, who said, "Never miss a chance to shut up." So I think I will. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Bill. The next person will be Donna Klein.
Hey everybody, it's good to be here. I think I'm going to use this stool. I'm not quite as tall as Bill. I'm pleased to be here today to spend some time with you this afternoon. We, Ron and I, have been on Dawta for 3 years. Initially, we purchased a home thinking it was going to be a nice part-time place to come and visit. Soon we grew to realize it would be a great place to retire permanently. We do love it here. Since we love it so much, I did decide to accept the nominating committee's request that I run for the board. Let me take a few minutes to tell you about myself. I'm a Midwesterner, born and raised in Ohio. I moved to Washington, D.C. in my mid-30s to accept a job which was a real solid career move for me. I spent 25 years in Washington, raised a wonderful daughter, spent 20 plus years at Marriott headquarters as a vice president of workforce effectiveness. I had a great company and a great ride there. I retired from Marriott in 2001 to create a nonprofit research and policy organization. It's a coalition of big businesses to represent their viewpoints on social policy issues, something they don't ever get involved in. Many issues related to children, families, education reform, and the like. But you can see all that in my bio, so I don't want to waste the time this afternoon going over a lot of that stuff. I'd like to talk to about some things and really articulate who I am as a human being, what my values and beliefs are, because I think those are foundational for you to know, because upon these values and beliefs is really what I do problem solving based on how I do my decision making. The first thing I want you to know is I'm a strong believer in a sense of community as being a key driver in quality of life. I've lived many places, but not all of them have been true communities. This indeed seems to be one. I believe that solutions within issues within communities are best generated by those most affected, the residents of that community. I'm ethical to the extreme. It's a core value for me. I am committed to equity, but not necessarily equality, and many people confuse the two. Equity implies fairness to everyone, but it doesn't mean the same thing for everyone, which is what equality means. So there's some key differences that I think it's important to really focus on. I believe that open and well-managed communications are the answer to many of the world's problems, and I certainly think it might be an answer to many of the issues DOTA faces. I'm relentlessly customer-focused and believe that the DIC board is in service to its customers, which of course are the residents of the island and the members of the club. I believe the members of DOTA Island Club are all after the same thing: respect, fair treatment, and a good life in our later years. This is a beautiful place to live. We personally feel lucky to be here. If I can be of service to the board and to you, I would like to do so. In closing, let me give you 10 reasons I think you should vote for me. Number 10, I have built a career by bridging gaps. Gaps between labor and management, gaps between employees and management, gaps between economic sectors. Number 9, I am skilled at finding commonalities among disparate groups. Articulating commonalities rather than differences, I think, is fundamental in powerful collaborations and true problem solving. Number 8, I'm very data-driven. Answers to the issues we face as a community are within the community itself. Innovation comes from the bottom up, in this case, the residents. Number 7, I'm a strong believer in collaboration, the basis of which is trust. If trust doesn't exist, that's where we need to begin in order to effectively collaborate. You can't have one without the other. I don't know the politics of the past 10 years, so my opinions really aren't tainted by what has happened in the past. I have fresh eyes. Sometimes that's very valuable. Number 5, I value differences. I don't just tolerate them. I truly cherish them and value them. I think it adds to the richness of life and to the richness of the dialogue. And number 4, I believe we're all agents of change, not just the people running for the board, but each and every resident on the island. But we need to be that change. And that means if we want to be respected, we have to be respectful of each other. If we want to be listened to, we have to make sure we're hearing each other as well. I'm a skilled listener, more important than a skilled speaker. Number 2, I stand in my commitments. Whatever I agree to do, I do. And the number 1 reason to vote for me is this: 60% of the residents on this island are women. I'm the only one you're going to hear from today. Now that can be because we live longer, I don't know. But there is compelling research that indicates that gender-mixed decision-making groups make much better decisions than gender-same groups. There actually can be too much testosterone sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Next is David, and I want to know where the 60% were when we were trying to find people to run for the family.
Move that stool. It's sort of like my golf game. I'm stuck between clubs. Thanks, Celeste, and good afternoon, DOTO. Thank you for your time and interest in this democratic process. I hope you all had a chance to read my bio, but if you didn't, I'll give you a quick summation. I have a successful business background in a very volatile industry. It required me to make difficult decisions financially while still making sure our brands and products stayed in the top tier of customer satisfaction. I have been exposed to multiple cultures, religions, politics, and people in general. This has allowed me to appreciate and respect many different points of view. Wanda and I bought our house here in Dartmoor in 2008, and I've been actively involved on both House and Social and Finance committees since moving here in February of 2009. I believe I have the business and people experience to help us work through the challenges we face. So what would my priorities be if elected to the board? First, getting our finances in order. We need to make sure the club will be economically viable both in the near and long term by using less of our settlement funds. Alcoa was subsidizing the club before we took it over, but this practice should not be a given. Many of our members are already stretched in meeting their monthly dues. Dues to me are like taxes, and I am a fiscal conservative. When revenue does not meet expenses, the first thing we have to look at is the expense side, not raising dues. We have to dig into the efficiencies of our operations. The phrase, "that's how we've always done it," should be banned from our vocabulary. Obviously, we have to look into increasing revenues, but by increasing membership. And I commend the board for their initiatives in this regard, but we must continue to pursue more. The next major challenge is to continue to elevate the Dator brand. Well, what do I mean by that? We need to protect and hone our amenities and make sure that Dator has what future buyers want. We need to communicate what we have to offer to attract the fewer buyers that are in the market right now. If moving to an island in the south with a warmer climate was all that people were looking for, distant island would be completely sold out. The demographics of the people we want to attract want more than that. Elevating our Dator brand will help make us more desirable than other properties, resulting in our real estate being more attractive and, more importantly, more valuable. This will bring us more buyers and ultimately more members. The club is and should remain the #1 attraction for potential Dator buyers. There is a balance to be made as to amenities and cost under a present membership count. Some efficiencies have already happened. Golf operation costs are reduced for 2012, but more is needed. The community center is adding revenue from additional service offerings that have been embraced by our members. House and Social have done a tremendous job of offering exciting events for our venues. However, we cannot sustain the losses in food and beverage. We must look to find some improved efficiencies and cost savings there that will accommodate the majority of our members' needs without huge subsidies. An increase in membership certainly helps the cost revenue equation, and I'm confident we will increase our membership count as the country eventually comes out of recession, and yes, the baby boomers like me will retire. But that should not stop us in our efficiency journey, even if we think things are fine. In the words of one of my mentors, if it ain't broke, fix it. The board must continue its openness and communication to ensure there is confidence in our elected officials. No elected group of people can satisfy all individual needs. However, we have to be cognizant and respectful of all of our members' concerns. So as such, I'm here today running for the board to represent all of you. I am a club member who also happens to be a golf member. All the candidates today fall in that same category, so please don't categorize us as just golf members. The club does have serious issues we need to deal with on all levels. Yet if I'm elected, I'm confident that the board, with sound input from our members, can make good decisions that benefit Dator as a club and as a community. In conclusion, I have a passion for living on Dator. We spent 4 years looking all over the Southeast for the place we wanted to spend our retirement. We came upon Dator almost by accident and immediately fell in love with what it had to offer. The club is what sinks the deal for us, and thus I firmly believe, above all, that ensuring the success of the club is what will ensure the success of Dator as a sustainable community for years to come. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, David. Next up, Mike Sullivan.
Good afternoon and welcome. I'd like to thank you all for coming out to support this year's election process, because without you, there would be no need for us. I'd also like to thank Celeste and her group. They've done a thankless job for this. I wouldn't call you nuts, but I'm certainly glad that it was you that was running this process. First, let me give you a little bit of background about myself. I grew up in southern New Jersey, graduated from Rowan University with a Bachelor of Science in Finance and Accounting. The bulk of my professional career was spent working for the DuPont Company, almost 31 years with DuPont. And through those various locations, I was at several different plant sites, as well as the corporate offices in Wilmington, Delaware. My earlier career was spent primarily in the finance and accounting functions. Had positions as an accounting manager, finance manager, business services manager, and also as the business analysis group as well. Later, I moved into human resources, had a few years in human resources, and then served as a regional CFO. After an extensive training process in something called Six Sigma, I was certified as a Six Sigma Black Belt, which is a data-driven cost and benefit analysis for process improvements. Shortly after that, I then moved into the sales and marketing function, and then later as the business manager for the business within DuPont. DuPont then decided they were going to sell our business off into private equity, where I was appointed as Vice President of Operations and the Chief Operating Officer. Ultimately, I became the President of that company. After setting all-time business records in sales and earnings, we sold the company to another investor and merged it with several other like businesses, where I became the Chief Operating Officer with the overall accounting and accountability for profit and loss, operations, human resources, information technology, sales, and marketing for 9 manufacturing locations throughout the United States, Canada, Mexico, and South America, until my retirement in 2009, when my wife Denise and I made ourselves permanent residents of this wonderful island. Since becoming full-time residents at DATOL, we've been very active in the DATOL community. We're both avid golfers. I won't confess that I'm not. We are both active members in the DATOL Historic Society, the Yacht Club, the Garden Club, and also Island Friends. We also serve on several DIC board committees. Denise has done the membership committee, and this year serving on the marketing committee, and I'm currently serving on the finance committee. We also do a lot of volunteer work for several Beaufort area charities. We're both active with Habitat for Humanity. Denise helps with their fundraising, while I serve on the finance committee for that charity as well. I also volunteer for Second Helpings Food Bank. We both believe that it's a very rewarding experience to be able to participate in community activities, part of which why I'm choosing to run for the board now. I am running for the DIC board because I'd like to be a part of helping DATOL shape the future of itself. I believe my financial background, my leadership skills would be an asset to the DIC board and allow me to better represent you, the DIC members, as we work through many of these issues that the club is facing. We should be working through this together, not as a board and membership. A few of the important issues, in my opinion, that we need to be working on: attracting and maintaining members. We've heard that from each of these folks so far. We even heard it in the initial session with the DIOA. We need to be able to attract new members, but we also need to be able to maintain the membership that we've got. People start trading out. We need to make it worth their while to stay here in their later years as well. I can do that through years of sales experience and marketing experience that I had while I was with DuPont and while I was the president of the company. Second issue is long-term financial stability of the club. Got over 35 years of financial and business profit and loss responsibility that I think could be a great asset in helping the club turn around some of its financial woes that we've been experiencing lately. Third is open and honest two-way communication. We'll hear that a lot today. I think it's very important that we be able to communicate to all levels of the membership. We may not always agree with the direction that the board takes or some of the decisions that they've made, but as long as we keep the residents informed during that process, You still may agree with what the decisions are, but hopefully we'll be able to have a better understanding of the facts and understand why the decision was made as it was. As a member of your board, I'd like to improve on these issues as well as all other aspects of making the Datal Island Club the premier gated community in the Low Country. I believe my work history and my financial and leadership qualifications would be a good addition to the DIC board and as an advocate to all of the membership. Thank you for your attention and thank you in advance for your support.
Thank you, Mike. Last on the speaking circuit is Paul. Thank you. Paul Kine.
You've heard 4 people, and you're only going to elect 3, so I'm not sure why I'm up here, but they're all pretty good. Thank you all for coming here on this beautiful day on Datal Island. I'd like to tell you how we came to Datal Island, why we stayed, and what I wish for the future. I hope you've seen my resume. It's very average compared to the other candidates. I never was a high-powered executive, and for most of my career worked for small, family-owned businesses. This gave me much more personal time off so I could follow my children's activities. It also allowed me to volunteer and serve on governing boards of each of the homeowners associations that we were members of. My wife Barbara was also president of the last HOA we were in for the last 4 years. We became involved because we felt it was important for our future to be involved in decisions which would affect our future. Datal Island is our only home. We came to Datal Island one Friday in March of 2008. We showed up at the gate, unannounced, and Bob North picked us up. 1 2-hour ride with Bob convinced us to return. We signed up for a Discover Datal package. We had dinner on a Friday evening with John and Robin Colgan, played golf Saturday with Joe and Marianne Foch. Joe and Marianne then hosted an impromptu cocktail party at their home and took us to dinner on the waterfront. We were sold. We returned in June. We'd already sold our home, so we were under no pressure to make a quick decision. That weekend, we stopped to ask a question of Barb and Jim Gill. They invited us into their home for a glass of wine. I'm sure at the time they didn't even know our last name. But through Sylvia, they found out who we were, called up and asked us if we'd like to play golf with them the following day. Talk about being made to feel welcome. We certainly were. That weekend, we decided to rent until we determined whether we would build or buy. Then we even waited longer until the first golf renovation vote was taken. We wanted to know if the homeowners and the DIC members were committed to maintaining the golf courses and the other facilities for the future. The overwhelmingly positive vote was the deciding factor in our decision to make Datal Island our permanent home. Had the vote been negative, we had considered buying off the island and joining as country club members. The difficulty with doing this is while you can use the facilities, you're not really part of the community. And we wanted to be part of the community. We now feel we live in paradise. We are fully committed emotionally and financially to Datal Island. Now, I see the work of the DIC board important in 4 distinct areas. The first is finance. I've been a member of the Joint Finance Committee for the past year. Believe me, Lori Murtaugh knows where every penny of income and expenses is and has a very sophisticated budget system for planning for the future. Now, you may agree or you may not agree with the way the money is raised and spent, but it's done openly, per budget, and available for anyone to view. The planning is done both to preserve what we have, yet to keep the cost affordable for the members. The DIC oversees this process to take into account these following items. The first is facility maintenance. The comment I've heard from many residents and guests is how new the island homes and facilities seem for a community that's over 25 years old. The upkeep for the buildings and grounds is an ongoing process with current funds as well as reserve funds being used per plan to upgrade and maintain buildings and grounds for 1 year up to 25 years in the future. Reserve funds means putting money away today for future needs. I've heard residents say, why should I pay now? I'm not going to be here when the money is spent. Well, of course, the answer is you have use of the facility while it's wearing out, and you're in fact paying rent for this privilege. The alternative is not to put money in reserve, and assess everyone when something needs to be done. This, of course, is unfair to the new members because they haven't had the ability when things are wearing out. This leads to the next item, new facilities. The DIC board must constantly evaluate what amenities retirees want in the future and be prepared to allocate funds for their acquisition. Some of the current suggestions are pickleball. Pickleball is now played by more people on Sun City than tennis. Some of the other things that we have are the expansion of the community center, the expansion of the pub, and community kayaks. The board must constantly look at offerings in other retirement communities and determine if the attraction versus the cost makes sense for Daughter Island. And of course, lastly is the marketing. There's been a lot of question about Daughter Island's future, much of it on the internet. My gut tells me that a lot of folks have committed to Daughter Island. People are purchasing homes, people are building homes, and they're expanding and renovating homes. The DIC is an integral part of the decision to commit to living on Daughter Island. One way or another, we must better market Daughter Island. How do we differentiate Daughter from other retirement communities? We've hired a marketing director. I'm already seeing positive steps with the Live South shows, the professional videos, full-page ad in the Hilton Head Monthly, and wonderful articles on the renovation. How do we attract more visitors, particularly from Hilton Head? We know they already like the area. We have minimal traffic problems. We have quick access to one of the finest beaches in the world. No community on 278 or Kalawasi can get to the ocean as quickly as we can from here. People desiring equestrian activities can board horses right here on St. Helena, or if they want, just go riding on the beach for a trail fair. We have crabbing, climbing, shrimping available on and off the island, a full-service marina, great local dining on island and off. We just have to get the story out. My candidacy for the DIC board is based on two principles. The first is commitment. I am committed to Daughter Island and seek to serve with others who are similarly committed. The second is that judgment is only sound when supported by facts. I pledge to you I will never exercise my judgment unless facts support the judgment, and I can explain how I arrived at my decision. If elected to the DIC board, it would be an honor to serve you in this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Now we come to the segment that involves the questions, and we will use this microphone because it seems to